Video, we are talking about the stock market crash and what it means for NFTs. As usual, nothing in this video is financial advice. We are not financial advisors. The NFT space is incredibly risky, so always do your own research. And if you enjoy this daily NFT content, make sure that you hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, follow the podcast, buy the NFT, all that good stuff. Gentlemen, the stock market, it's going to zero. I don't know. What's it mean for NFTs?
That's the anticipation. We've been making a price prediction of literally zero. So that's where we're at. It seems like we are headed in that direction. In all honesty, we did say that the market is due for at least an additional 30%, maybe continued correction, because we've not seen the sort of retracements that we've seen before. That said, I mean, this is based on comparable of, really bad price drops. You look back to COVID, you went from 97.30 on NASDAQ down to 68. What percentage is that? 68 divided by 95. It's almost 30% retracement. We went from 16,000. So we should be at least just on that retracement. You should be at 11,000, which is approximately where we're at right now. So we're about to match the COVID percentage retracement. And then you got to go back before that for the sort of financial collapse or the internet bubble would be another one, which was this would be the money printing bubble. Which is what we're trying to price adjust for now.
Okay. And so, do you think that, like, when I look at the NFT market, it's still such a nascent market? Kix, you had a tweet about this today about how the expectation of 10Xs and things like that in the NFT market is realistically going to go away, and a 100% gain is going to be, more common and more accepted by participants in the NFT market. Before, like, a 2X was just considered super standard, but now it'll be considered good. Is that how you see things settling? Do you think that people are going to come from other markets to the NFT market still because the opportunity for gains is going to be better? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Are you not using your mic? Is
Yeah,
that
you got to use your mic, dude. This guy.
What?
This guy, is it?
Am I on the right one?
Yeah.
Hello? Can you
Yeah,
hear
go
me?
ahead. Go ahead. Come on, man.
Mic check.
Yeah, I mean,
Mic check.
I still think that there'll be lots of opportunities in like NFTs to get like outsized gains purely from the standpoint that that's almost a natural effect of a super constrained supply, right? So like only having 10,000 NFTs is like the equivalent of only having like 10,000 shares of a company, and you can't buy fractional amounts. You have to buy at least one, right?
Yeah.
So in bull markets, I think that creates a lot of these, huge price ramp ups. So I'm not saying that like 10Xs will like go away. I guess what I'm saying is when you look on a longer term horizon, especially coming out of this bear market, the expectation that we're going to have these crazy runs that we had last year. I think a lot of people are expecting that we're going to have just lots of runs like that again. And it just gets harder and harder and harder as an industry like adopts matures and adopts new users. So yeah, my point was more so that, when we go into the next bull run, like expecting to have the same levels of like, mania that we had before probably, isn't the smartest thing. And as more people enter the market, there's more people that you're competing against, right? So I think that mentally a lot of people that made a lot of money in 2021 or got used to those types of gains, just like going forward, are going to have to be a little bit more like, sober with their expectations, right? Like if you told someone last year that they'd have to, if they bought an NFT and after a year it'd go up by 100x, they're like, a year? That's a shit NFT. You know what I mean? That I'm expecting 100% in 3 or 4 days. I think we're going to have a lot more cases where it's like, people are buying into projects and, getting a 30, 40, 50% gain is good. Now, in order for that to also be possible, lots of other things have to change. Like, marketplace fees have to change, right? Like you can't be charging 10% per transaction if people are only making, 30, 40% on a trade.
Plus gas.
Plus gas. Exactly. That's also why, the Solana narrative, does make sense if in order to get mass adoption, we need cheaper NFTs, we need lower commissions, lower gas fees. It makes sense why Solana is doing so well. But, in terms of like the specific like topic at hand, which is, like what's happening with the stock market and how that could impact the NFTs. We're definitely seeing a lot of resilience in the pricing, and it kind of in the prices of NFTs, and it kind of makes sense because unlike the stock market where there's, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of owners of a stock, in NFTs, 5,000-6,000 holders that really believe in a project can keep the prices up and doing well. That doesn't mean price can't go down, but it does mean that it's easier for these things to stay at high prices if everyone in, the small amount of holders believes in the price and is not willing to like sell at a price. I think the most likely scenario is that, or not most likely, but a very possible scenario is that NFTs continue to stay flat or ranging in ETH, but ETH is the one that takes, the pricing damage from the stock market. Because a lot of people said like, or saying today on crypto Twitter, they're like, oh, wow, it's impressive that like, Ethereum's only down 5% today when the stock market's down, 5% today.
Well, Ethereum's down. Yeah. But I since the market crashed, like really accelerated, Ethereum has not gone down a lot more, which I think is interesting.
So
but also it absolutely cratered way faster than the NASDAQ or the S&P like last week. So I do think that they're definitely correlated. They're just not like correlated 1-to-1 on the exact same time frame. But like if liquidity is getting erased, it's going to impact all risk on markets. So I think like the most likely like scenario where like the stock market impacts NFTs is the stock market. If it's going to go down another 20% from here, that's going to put negative pressure on Ethereum, and basically NFTs will get repriced in Ethereum, and so they'll lose USDC value. But I wouldn't be surprised for like them to hold up relatively well in ETH value.
It'll be interesting also to see and I've been wondering about is sort of the decoupling of this asset class from the stock market, but I think it's less so that it's going to decouple and more like you're saying, have a correlation. It may, it may be one for one on the underlying aspect of things, but there's an ecosystem that exists, and the ecosystem is not going away, which for the long-term prospect of us and every other participant in this space, that's really fundamentally all that actually matters, is that the ecosystem continues to exist. And that's where, like, if you read the media and you listen to even people in the technology space who are still super bearish on NFTs because it was just a way for some subset of people who were previously living off of free government money to make money flipping and quit their job, which is hilarious. I'm guessing that's because they had a lot of people quit at their companies because they made money from NFTs because no one likes working for them. But the general sense that I have with a lot of these things is we at least have an ecosystem that exists here. And that's the real question is it's like, do we think market go up, market go down? And it's definitely going down, and we don't know how long it's going to be. But do we think that people are going to stick around, or were people like what percentage of people were only here because they were looking for what you were talking about was those like 1000x gains that we got on Bored Apes and those sorts of things, which I don't think we got in for.
There's those people, and we see those people come and go in our Discord too, but those people also miss the next run up. Like they don't get to take full advantage of the next run up because they have that mentality, right? So maybe they'll come back in once it's like full blown bull market again, and they'll try to capitalize, but the next bull market's going to look different. I talk about this a lot. I've gone on record. Oh, I hear a lot of hopium, a lot of copium comments every time that I talk about this. But the bottom line is, what are NFTs? They're digital collectibles. Traditional collectibles markets have been around for, I mean, really millennia, but definitely like centuries. But gold started as a collectible, right? So there's always going to be a market for collectibles, and there's always like holy grail collectibles. Like if you're a Star Wars person, there's holy grail Star Wars collectibles. If you're into Beanie Babies, I'm sure that there was like a holy grail Beanie Baby. So in the NFT space, you have to think that the Bored Ape Yacht Club and maybe CryptoPunks, right? They're like holy grail NFT assets. That doesn't mean that like your random NFT that you bought last week is going to mean anything. And it also doesn't mean, you also have to do the distinction between pure play collectibles or pure play fine art in the NFT space and startups that you're investing in the NFT space. And if those startups in the NFT space have their founders leave, there's not going to be any value anymore, right? That's why like CryptoPunks is so good, because it's just pure play fine art / collectible / history. It's just good to go. No one has to do anything ever again. Yuga Labs bought them and basically said, yeah, we're going to work on the me bits. But like CryptoPunks, who gives a shit? It's like, it's a fine art thing. You don't have to do any work for a Picasso to have value, right? So those are my thoughts. I look right here. I like this Karafuru project. I haven't bought it yet, but I've thought the art on that was really good. I've done basically zero research, so that's why I haven't bought it. I can't promise you that thing is going to come back, like going to have crazy value long term. The floor has been holding super well, it seems like, for months, but I don't know enough about it to be able to tell you. But when I look at like Bored Ape Yacht Club ecosystem, I think that at the end of the day, you can probably say that that's like a holy grail entity within the NFT space. So that's the way I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
I like it.
You can always count on Nick to listen to everything and really repeat back to you what you said. So look, let's play through some scenarios. Stock market dumps by 30% next week.
Additional. Well, this would be pure. So I've been looking at different charts on CNBC while you were chatting. So you did catch me in the middle of that, and I just want to apologize in advance, PO, on behalf of that. So what I'm looking at in particular here is the VIX, and the VIX is.
You want to share your screen?
Sure. I mean, it's not. It's not.
If it's not earth shattering, whatever.
But here, well, it's definitely not. But here you go. So I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, okay, I guess I need to make this wider for this to do better on here. I have no idea. Maybe I can go like that. Oh, nope. Get out of here. Nope. I don't know how to do that. Anyways,
okay, whatever.
You were able to zoom in. Got it. So I'm just looking at this chart in particular. We're at pretty high levels on the VIX. Historically, those do not sustain. But you're seeing this additional mass upside here for a spike like this. You got to go back to financial crisis mode here. Actually, when was that? Was that
2000 collapse?
No, 2000. This is stock market bubble.
Is that Iraq war? Maybe
this is. I think this is financial crisis with
0809.
Yeah. So that's peak. This is the COVID spike. What like how much higher do we think this actually goes? Like what do we call this crisis of a situation? People are discussing a credit crisis happening later in the year, a consumer credit crisis.
Yeah.
But especially with interest rates rising, like what's the but what drives us to sort of historical levels like this? And that's difficult for me to say. Like, are we going to just be like, oh, that was the high inflation news. What is that event that 2x is this? Because what you're really wondering is like, is there enough fear in the market that we could suddenly like have a Black Monday, Black Friday, like serious thing? We're already down a significant amount, but like, what's that thing that's going to like drive volatility to that level, aka make the market drop by 15% in one day and make it historically one of the worst days ever? I don't know, but when I
I
come
think it
back,
would be like the one catalyst would be like really bad like supply chain crises, maybe like towards food.
there we go. The
That'd be
food,
pretty bad.
yeah, the
Yeah.
2022 food supply. We're seeing a piece of that with the baby food situation that's going on right now. Although that's
Yeah.
not necessarily based on.
It's more negligence related than
yeah,
supply chain related. Like companies not upgrading their equipment for 25 years as they're making billions of dollars in profit.
So, but whatever it is, yeah. So let's look at where
I think like it's like some of the scary things is like, you know, you look at like a company like Target, right? Like Target is
just crashed today, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a bellwether kind of stable stock, right? You don't get into Target thinking it's gonna 2x in a year, but you also don't get into Target stock thinking it's gonna, you know,
Fall off a cliff.
minus 25% in one day because they earned way less money because they spent $1 billion more than they expected on fuel, in associated costs. So,
just on moving with trucks moving around logistics.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like a big part of their earnings miss because they didn't miss on revenue. They actually were slightly up on revenue. They missed on earnings, and that was like they said discretionary spending issues, so like less people buying like TVs and stuff like that, and then also the incremental fuel costs like really.
Turns
really
out I can't support the economy by myself.
Yes, unfortunately,
I moved and I bought a lot of stuff on Amazon. I'm gonna be completely honest, dude. I'm at a point where I'm getting alerts from Amazon for suggested things that I should also buy. Well, I had not been at that level ever, and I'm like, this may be like sort of signaling a little bit of a problem here. But despite that, the stock market has not reacted to the spending from my move.
The news article, the one man in New York City trying to
spend
turn around an
10
economic
grand
crisis.
moving into a new apartment, and
how much will he spend? What else will he buy?
Can he carry Amazon's multi-billion-dollar earnings by himself? Turns out no.
You're doing your part as a consumer. There's no question, man.
I'm trying to make a contribution, but wow, look at the Amazon dip there as well. Just absolutely brutal.
Like full retrace back to COVID levels from a company that like massively benefited from a COVID environment.
And still is going to continue.
COVID, it's a good buying opportunity.
is not a gone thing at the moment for those who are
debatable,
not familiar with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did casually lose like $5 billion the last quarter. So, you know, that's definitely not like a.
That's like what you want to do.
Their first loss in like a long time. And it's just a casual, like, you know, $5 billion oopsie. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that the other thing to consider is that also that the markets are supposed to be like forward looking in terms of how they like price things. Mm-hmm. So if we remember, like, during COVID trading, the economy wasn't doing fantastic, you know, coming out of COVID. But like, you know, things like airliner stock, right, went up a lot faster than like actual travel increased, right? The market is forward looking. So it's not so much like, do we think the next 3 months are going to be shitty economically or the next 6 months are going to be shitty economically? You already can see the market is pricing that in, right? So we're getting to levels. I mean, if you think about Amazon and, you know, just how much it controls right now, you're able to buy it basically at its like 2018 high, right? And like where it ranged for a lot of 2019.
It's insane. I would definitely, I mean, unfortunately I added Coinbase was the primary thing I just added there. I'm not shifting out of that. I still think it's a good price. But Amazon's definitely a good one here. Anytime you see this sort of just like,
I mean, it's got to be a buy at some point.
Generally, you want it. I mean, you can add a little bit. Like you could probably add a little bit. Like Target's not just disappearing, so Amazon's not disappearing. If they disappear, we got some real fucking problems.
Got bigger problems. Frankly, yeah, and you get that nice boomer dividend yield with those companies.
My entire existence, my survival is based on Amazon. Like 100%. They deliver my food to me via Whole Foods that they end up delivering. They deliver the stuff in my apartment as well. So everything that I have right now is existing in this. But like we said, the target price on all of these is zero. Capitalism is dead. Society as we know it has ended. So that's kind of the situation, the crisis that we're facing. Maybe that's what pushes the VIX to all-time levels. Society ends.
Yeah, it could be. Look, these things got to be buys at some point. Mufasa in the chat said something very interesting, is that a black swan event could be China invading Taiwan, which I don't even want to put that out into the universe. That would absolutely suck, but it's theoretically on the table really through the next election. It could happen. And then,
we're suddenly having foreign policy conversations on this show. Hey, everybody, thanks for listening to our NFT show where we discuss stock markets, foreign policy, global pandemics. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, but I think that, I really do think that the biggest like pain point for NFTs is like two things. One is repricing in ETH, and then two is like the community sentiment, right? And like the willingness for like new money to enter. Those are the challenges. Like NFTs haven't fundamentally changed over the next 6 months. Most people in our Discord and people like us are still very much interested in NFTs. We're not buying a lot of NFTs right now, not because we don't believe in NFTs, but because we simply think, okay, I'm going to buy some NFTs and then like Ethereum's going to get whacked, right? Or I'm going to buy some NFTs, and because the economy is like impacting people's finances, there's not a lot of new money that's going to be able to come into NFTs and continue to support the ecosystem. So those are the two primary challenges that I think that we're dealing with. Having like said that though, like, for example, like I have a certain amount of ETH that I'm just like, that's my ETH. You know what I mean? And I'm going to hold on to it, right? Like I haven't sold it already.
That's my
ETH. I'm not going to capitulate it on that, right? So like I do think that there's like really interesting opportunities in NFTs if you have like a 1 ETH equals 1 ETH mindset, meaning that like if you're willing to survive a repricing in ETH, USDC terms, you can actually probably stack a lot of ETH even in like a bear market. Like for example, like this trade, like if like I think that PO, you mentioned Bored Ape Yacht Club just being a great ecosystem, right? Yep. Like right now you can get in other deeds for 3 ETH, right? Yep. Right around that range. Mm-hmm. Let's say you go buy one of those right now with like your ETH stack, right? Mm-hmm. I could see a potential scenario where ETH goes down further, but because of that in USDC terms, people are like, okay, other deeds is stupidly underpriced, right?
Yeah, $4,000.
Exactly. And so it goes from like 3 ETH to like 5 ETH or something like that, right? So you make a stack in ETH terms.
Yep.
I think that there's a lot of trading opportunities if you're adopting that kind of mindset that I can stack ETH in a bear market, I can stack ETH, and then when ETH inevitably improves and goes back up, that's like where I get the profitability out of the trade. But like in the short term, I'm just looking at NFTs as like a store of value for my ETH, and I can potentially,
I love that.
Yeah, I can potentially get these upswings. So like if you're trading with like that kind of mindset, then you're not so focused on what is the price of things in USDC terms. You're almost just like, okay, I want to be buying these really good, blue chip projects. So like a great example of like a trade like this is like, didn't Moonbirds get below 20 ETH at one point in time?
I'm pissed about that. I was actually considering another. They did again recently. That was another low that they hit. I can pull them up real quick, but I think they're at like 25 right now.
26 and a half actually.
20.
So like
God.
So that's an example of like, so for example, like I sold my Moonbird for like 31 ETH, right? And then I traded it into cash. So not only did I avoid like a 15% correction in Moonbirds and ETH, but then also like a 30% retracement, and a 30% retracement in like the USD value. So like even if ETH went to, even if Moonbirds went to like 35 ETH, 38 ETH, I'd still be in the green in USDC terms, right?
Yeah.
But if I had taken my ETH stack and been like, okay, hey, now that Ethereum price has corrected by 30%, like Moonbirds is relatively like a good value at this ETH price of 18 and you buy it and now it's up at 26.5 after fees, you've netted like 6 ETH, which isn't chump change even at these prices. But like,
Yep.
if you really just thinking like, okay, in ETH terms, I'm trying to, I'm trying to accumulate more in ETH terms. I think that there's a lot of profitable trades that you can make. And what you probably want to look for is you want to look for look to like kind of buy some fear and buy some panic, right? So like,
Yeah.
let's say ETH goes back down to 1700, right? You're going to see some people freak out in USDC terms, right? And they're going to sell Moonbirds back at 20 ETH again, even though Ethereum's down by another 20%, right? And then you go in with your E stack and you buy Moonbirds at 20, and then they rip up to 30 as people like move, continue to buy and like move back into the project. So I do think that NFTs have shown a lot of resilience in ETH terms. So if you adopt the mindset of I'm going to trade NFTs for ETH, or I'm going to trade NFTs for Solana, you can make a lot. You can increase your stack of those crypto coins a lot while they're in a bear market. And then inevitably, when we go into another bull, that's where you get the payoff for your trade.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're speaking my language, Kicks, right? This is a non-USD focused mental framework. So let me ask you guys a couple questions. Yay or nay, there is another sizable stock market dump in 2022. Gun to your head, yes or no?
Yeah, I think we still got more downside here. We were discussing how long it should take. We were saying it this morning. I think we still have a little more downside here. We're getting near sort of the direction where I would be increasingly just like, this is an overreaction. Looking at this chart, I'm just like, yeah, in 1 year ago, or sorry, this is now 2 years ago, I guess 2020. 2 years ago,
like right there, right where your line is at.
I like this.
Yeah, me too. I think that's where we could fall to.
Okay.
So we're looking at like another
3,500
maybe
on
down.
S&P.
Do you guys remember in 2020, after that, the monster dump, the COVID dump, you remember that everybody was saying that there was going to be another dump? Do you remember that?
Yeah. Well, I remember for like weeks, CNBC was saying like, we're going to retest the bottom. We're going to retest the bottom. And
Chamath
it was
said that there was going to be another one.
We never retested the bottom, just straight
V-shape.
V-shape. Yeah.
Interesting to think about. Not saying that that's the case this time. Everyone in the comments said, yeah, the stock market's going to dump again. It's kind of the same thing as the COVID dump. The difference is the quantitative easing.
Again is different than like seeing a massive low. I think the other thing is like, well, some of these prices are pretty damn low. The real thing is if you're thinking about buying stocks and you're not doing day trading on the stocks, then it doesn't matter. There's a lot of value that exists in the market right now. Yeah. And I increasingly think about stocks in that way. Unfortunately, I think a lot of them have retraced below COVID levels where you got in because you saw the bottom of the V. You didn't obviously buy the exact bottom. You bought in a little bit above that because you're just like, okay, hold on one sec. The world hasn't ended. Let me just like walk outside for a minute. So you bought a little bit of stock, you added some, you started making money, and then you're like, yo, this is good. Like, okay. And basically as soon as that started happening, I think everyone just rushed in. And I think we're likely to see a similar, a lot of these things could drop in V. Well, look at all of these. But you still get, where was the V? Was this the V, or was this the V was here? So there was a second dip. So that's the real question. Where does this end?
Well, and I think the other thing that you have to really consider too is that in 2018, that V shape, and in 2020, that V shape was driven by the Fed.
Exactly.
And them saying that we're going to print the shit out of some money. They did it in 2018. That's what made it recover there. And they did it again in 2020. They no longer have that in their toolkit anymore because inflation's running so hot that they have the potential to really fuck up the economy long term if they try to like reprint super hard. They have to get inflation under control before that's even like a decision. I think what's potentially more likely to happen is that we get just a flat line where we're going to hit a level of capitulation like this 3,500 range, like 3,250 to 3,500 range. And then there's just going to be accumulation there for a period of time. Now, the nice thing about that is that if the low risk equity investments flatline, likely what you'll see is you will see the high risk stuff really go up. So from an NFT narrative, that's like best case scenario for us. Like best case scenario for us is that NASDAQ goes down by another 20%. It just sits. Now people go from risk off to risk on, but they don't see the big money making opportunity in the low risk areas. So then people shift back to high risk. So that would be growth tech, that would be crypto, and especially NFTs. So that's like the dream scenario, is that we bleed out another 10, 15, 20%, let's call it, over the next, 45, 60 days. And then we consolidate for a couple of months. That would mean that like maybe like July, August for NFTs, or maybe even a little bit earlier, we could get this awesome risk on bull run where people are like not freaking out. They're like, okay, the world's not ending. Stocks aren't going to zero, but I'm not going to throw my money in NASDAQ and get 5% this year. So then people shift back to higher risk things. They go back to crypto. They go back to NFTs.
We get a big flush, throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
Then we trade sideways on equities. That provides a bedrock for the risk on assets. And then we can play.
I have a question though, and this is going to, Pio is going to be very dismissive of what I'm going to ask here. One of the theses that existed was that we've killed the dollar. That's essentially what we've been saying. But I think if you do like, the Japanese yen has gotten demolished, and you're seeing that happen here. So the strength of the dollar has actually gone the inverse way. And a lot of the things that we've discussed is that, like, in one of the arguments that existed in crypto was saying that Michael Saylor talks about like the printing of the dollars, turning it into the value of toilet paper, essentially.
The melting ice cube.
Is the way that he describes those things. And that's become sort of a talking point of a lot of people in the crypto space. But we're not seeing that today. Like, that's legitimately not what, like, and maybe you're thinking over the long run, well, okay, well, the dollar will eventually become worthless, and that's why you're positioning yourself for it. But I'm wondering, like in the short term, how are we viewing what you were talking about as a shift? Right now, we've been discussing how the venture market is drying up because a lot of large pools of capital have shifted from some of this growth investment into traditional stocks, because there's now incredible value that you can find in stocks. If that money is going out, we're not seeing the implosion of the dollar, which is like sort of the theoretical thing that people say is going to drive more adoption of crypto, and that adoption is the primary thing that ends up driving the price action within this product. Do we actually believe, or is this just, like you were saying, Captain Kicks, this is just a risk asset and should be traded as such, but and the price is relative to, like, what is it relative to? How do we end up actually pricing it at that point when it's just another asset in the market?
Can I go?
Sure.
I mean, no, let Kicks go.
And you go first, Biel. I want to hear you say.
So what I have to say is all Bitcoin related. It's not quote unquote crypto related. It's specifically Bitcoin related. And then you can extrapolate it to the broader crypto space. But to answer your question, Nick, there's going to be ebbs and flows in the short term, related to the value of the US dollar. What do we know? We know that the supply of the US dollar increased more in the past 2 calendar years, literally like 26 months, than it had for, I believe, over 100 years before, which is the gnarliest statistic ever. The Fed literally took the money supply chart down from the website. There used to be like the M2 money supply that showed how much money was actually being printed by the Federal Reserve, and they had to take it down because they just didn't want to put it out there, right? The bottom line is we were on
it's literally on the screen in case
it's not on the Fed's website, man. We left a hard money standard. A lot of people don't know this. We left a hard money standard in 1971. Okay, that's when we came off the gold standard. And by the way, that's what you want. You want a chart that's parabolic.
This is I do want to be clear though. This is the Federal Reserve.
M2 money supply. So this is a parabolic chart concerning the supply of quote unquote money. Okay. So historically, we had a hard money standard. In 1971, we came off this hard money standard, which was the gold standard. Maybe you've heard of it. And that was supposed to be a temporary thing. It wasn't supposed to be permanent, right? But as all things with the government become, like having troops in another country, or, having the TSA in the airport, these things start as temporary things and then they become permanent things. What's the problem with not having a hard money standard, or even what's the problem with having a gold standard? Is when you put humans who are imperfect in control of the money supply, they do imperfect things. Gold was thought of to be perfect for a long time, like God's money, right? It's the ultimate natural resource. Humans decided over millennia that gold was the proper form of money.
I used to sleep with gold bricks.
Okay, but then what happens? You allow humans to mine gold. You allow humans to manipulate the accounting of gold. You allow humans to put out paper claims against gold, and the supply of gold gets completely barbecued. Nobody knows how much there is. Nobody knows the true value. We come off the gold standard. It's a big mess. That's why Bitcoin is important, is because no one can manipulate it. I know Nick will come right in and say, the price gets manipulated. The price gets manipulated. Guess what? The supply cannot be manipulated. Don't talk to me about a 51% attack. Get that whack shit out of here. So when you have this hard money, rock hard money, that's what it was made for. Forget about medium exchange. Forget about, a collectible. What it is a base layer, an open network that anybody can plug into, but nobody can manipulate, that then can serve as a source of truth for imperfect human beings that we are. That's the Bitcoin thesis. Money printing benefits people that hold assets. It benefits someone that owns a house.
What does that all mean for the price, though?
For the price, it means that there will be adoption because it's an open monetary network that is superior from a technology perspective. Technology gobbles up everything. Human beings want things that are fair. They want things that are absolute. They want things that, dirty-handed politicians can't manipulate. And as people get educated, there's such a miseducation around Bitcoin right now, but that's how it works with technology. When the internet first came out, they tried to say that the internet was bad for the environment. When the internet first came out, my mom wasn't using the internet for like years, It takes time for this stuff. And if you look at the curve of adoption for the internet against the curve of adoption for Bitcoin is being adopted at an exponentially faster rate than the internet was. And so Bitcoin gobbles up, so much liquidity, so much capital from so many different areas, right? And when you inflate a money supply, calling the US dollar money, right? When you inflate that money supply, who does it benefit? It benefits asset owners. It benefits people that own homes. It benefits people that own stocks. It benefits people that own JPEGs, for crying out loud. It's crazy. That's the K-shaped recovery, right? Where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And that's also the exacerbation of the wealth gap. And so if you're going to tell me that people that don't have assets are just going to continue to get murked forever, that's a reality that I don't really want to be a part of. I think there's going to be a robust struggle between the people in power and the general population, with regulations against crypto, Bitcoin, blah, 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 and trying to, maybe even major countries banning Bitcoin. But the thing is, unless you go full North Korea mode, people can use Bitcoin. And I don't see us going full North Korea mode. So what I think will happen is I just think that the United States government, I mean, in the Middle East and in South America, the governments are accumulating Bitcoin. You got El Salvador, you got Dubai.
We're getting the whole synopsis of Bitcoin, but I'm trying to get one thing, which is, what's the fucking price? Like, what does it have to do with the price at this moment? And how does it ever detach from what these other assets are doing right now? And that's the real question that we're trying to figure out, is not just strictly, is Bitcoin going to be adopted? But I think the other aspect of it is, like, right now we're trying to trade it. And so the question is like, I understand you're just collecting it and adding to it, and the price eventually go up because it's going to hit 150,000 by the end of the year.
No, I didn't say that for this year. This year it's looking kind of crazy. It's looking kind of crazy right now.
So, but that's what I'm wondering. What Captain Kicks was saying is that we get a risk-on environment with stocks, and so what you're saying is it decouples. That stocks do not appreciate in the same way. Is that my understanding of what you were saying, Captain Kicks? Is that like basically it's going flat, and then we're getting the scenario that you're talking about, like with this going up?
With the money supply going up?
No, you said earlier
with NFTs and crypto,
which is what triggered asking Pio about the Bitcoin.
Yeah, I was saying, I'm not saying that this is like for sure, because also another bullish catalyst is like if things stabilize and inflation stabilizes, then you could see like the Feds being like, okay, we're just going to keep rates at 3%. We're not going to go higher than that, or whatever we're at, a 0.5% increase. We're not going to go higher than that, and that sets off another run. But yeah, basically what I'm saying is that I see a potential where we flush out flatline in the low risk assets, high risk assets then get shifted to, because partially due to inflation and because mostly due to people wanting to actually make some serious money. So I'm not just talking about NFTs and crypto. I'm also talking about like Shopify got whacked by like 80%, right? When the S&P or NASDAQ is done flushing out and starts flatlining, Shopify is the type of company that's going to see a huge move up. That's going to go up like 40% in a year. Right? Like Palantir, like 40% in a year, like those kinds of high risk growth tech plays. I think if that setup happens, which I think is very likely, we're going to see that same move on crypto, and we're going to see that same move on NFTs as well. I think what people also don't fully appreciate about NFTs is that fundamentally they're not really different than stocks. Because like when you buy a stock, it's not, you can say that it's backed by the fundamentals of the company, but it's really truly way more speculative than that. And price goes up based on the like market's faith in the company's ability to produce. There's no real core difference. You can say an NFT has no fundamental value. It's still pretty much a bet on the operating team's ability to produce and do cool things. And I think that there's a lot of younger investors out there that have money to deploy. And frankly, NFTs are just more interesting to speculate on than growth tech. So I do think that there's a very possible scenario that if over the next 40 days, the market really flushes out, prices in all of this bad news, and then we just kind of start to flatline, that's the setup for like the next NFT bull run. Because then people with 50 grand in the bank account, they're not worried about the whole world going to shit. And they're like, okay, I need to put this 50 grand to use, because during this period, it's not like inflation is going to go down to 2%, right? It's going to be like inflation staying at 6-7%, but still cooking. And then so someone's going to be like, oh, okay, am I going to take my 50K and put it in the S&P, which is going to go up by 6 or 7% and essentially make no money, but not lose any money? Or are they going to take that 50K and be like, okay, I'm going to go buy some Shopify stock, or I'm going to go buy some NFTs, or I'm going to go buy some crypto, right? So I think that's the setup for NFTs. That's the setup for crypto, is we have like a 45-day, 60-day flush consolidation. And then people realize if my money just sits in cash, it's going to get eaten by inflation. If I throw it in the S&P, we're back to 8 to 10% a year kind of gains. People are going to move back to the high risk assets.
I think that's spot on, dude. I think we're talking about two different things. I thought Nick wanted like a breakdown of what Bitcoin is and why it's important in the world. And Kix gave Nick the answer he was actually looking for. So it's a win-win, in my opinion.
Well, and it seems like a subset of the commenters here
they think I'm like a communist. That just shows they don't understand like Bitcoin.
God.
It's the opposite of communism. It's literally 180 degrees in the other direction. This is the most common thing, is just nobody understands Bitcoin. You can tell them exactly what it is, and they're still like, I don't understand it, dude. You're a communist. Like, people don't understand Bitcoin. They will eventually. And by then, it'll be too late for y'all. You already know. You'll be stacking sats, buddy.
What Pio means by understanding Bitcoin is understanding his perspective on Bitcoin and come to agree that that version of Bitcoin is spot on, basically. Not just the fact that Bitcoin makes sense.
It was designed to be gold. It was designed to be digital gold, and it's like exactly what it is. Like, how cool is that? That we literally made a digital version of gold, and it's just straight up exactly what it is. And then
it's really cool. I own some.
and this all this other shit spawned from it, right? You got Ethereum. Ever heard of it? Like my assumption is that people like bought Ethereum because they felt like they missed Bitcoin, and they don't understand what Ethereum is either. And then when someone talks about Bitcoin, they get upset because they don't like have exposure to Bitcoin because they think it's like an investment, right? And not like actual digital gold. And so that's like the big problem. But we don't have to continue on the Bitcoin rant because I know people don't like when I talk about Bitcoin.
Yeah, it was. Well, someone said it was designed to be peer-to-peer electronic cash, not digital gold. But whatever, Bit Gold was a precursor to it, and there were some other items as well.
Yeah, and there's also a strong narrative. But like what Pia said isn't just like a rant that has no value to this conversation. It is very valuable in the sense of like consumers are kind of seeing the irresponsibility come to fruition.
Like fuck the politicians just across the board, like literally across the board.
That's me.
And that their trust in the dollar is, you know, decreasing by the day. And so like I do think, once again, tying back to what y'all said, it is, you know, crypto and like altcoins got whacked similar to the levels of growth tech. Bitcoin and ETH are getting whacked similar to like big tech companies, right? But not at the level of like growth tech, which definitely shows the resilience in them. And I do think that they're winning the narrative perspective. Yeah, look at that Etsy just all the way back to 2020 levels.
But that's probably fair value for Etsy.
It says PE ratio of 26 though, so that's still at a
high level,
fairly high level. So it's actually debatable. They have annualized revenue of a little bit over 2 billion, market cap of 10 billion, e-commerce company though. I mean, it's not bad if you're still anticipating growth out of Etsy.
Yeah.
But and they've shown it in 2019, 2020, 2021. But now people are saying, look, there's inflation. There's going to be lower discretionary spending as a result of that. And
but
so
there may be more people needing to make a little of that extra cash on Etsy.
They're just
you know what I mean?
out Etsy
That's
projects
and selling new and like innovative stuff. Yeah. Look, I think that like, you know, as weird as this sounds, like the more that we go into a bear market, like the more comfortable that I feel that we're not all wrong or crazy, and that, you know, on a long-term horizon, we're all very much right. You know what I mean? It almost gets nonsensical during a bull, right? And the bear brings like a somewhat a level of sense back to the market, and it's pretty healthy, right? Just the amount of speculative things in NFTs that like 10x in a week, right? That's just very nonsensical. And
random PFP project,
random
minted at 0.06, held a 1.8 floor for 2 weeks.
Exactly. You know? It's just nonsensical like levels. You know, like at Crypto Raiders, we've had to deal with like very painful, you know, economics and like just where our project is at in terms of the prices of the tokens and in terms of the prices of the characters, right? It's an absolute far cry from where we were in January, right? When it was like GameFi was this super hot narrative and we got caught up in that wind, right? But the nice thing is that we have a lot of cash. And now that we're in a bear market, there's not this obsession with like, oh, like how do the NFT prices go up in the next week? Or how, like when you're in the mania phase, you kind of act with this mania kind of attitude of trying to do things in 2 weeks or 2 days or whatever. And I would love for our prices to be better, but because we're in this situation, it lets us just focus on the long haul and innovating and building some good fundamentals. I think we'll see a similar parallel in the NFT market, which is like this mania flushing out is actually a great thing, because then like these projects, they're not going to have to be so worried about like, oh, we need to do an airdrop in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? To like keep our floor price up or whatever. People are going to be thinking about a little bit more of like a fundamental way to improve their products, to improve their offerings. So I think like the flush is good. As a project owner myself, it's very painful. Like, I don't think people understand that, like, when you're a project owner with locked tokens and your token goes to the moon, you don't get to realize any of the upside there. Yeah. And then when it goes all the way back down, you know, now your theoretical net worth is, you know, erased by 90%, right?
It's like holding an NFT and you just have to watch it moon and then come right back down to what you bought.
Exactly.
You just can't do anything.
Exactly. And I mean, that's just like life though. And for me, the fact that we raise so much money, we have this cash, like we're like, other projects are probably are trying to survive on secondary commissions. They're kind of getting potentially flushed out because like, how are they going to pay payroll and stuff like that? Like we have 4 years worth of payroll at Crypto Raiders where like we're hiring right now. We're hiring for 3 new positions. We're trying to scale up and win. I think the same thing's going to happen in the NFT space. These project owners that were responsible business managers and took some of their exorbitant sums of money and put it into cash and are now hiring and building. Those are the people that are going to come out 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and absolutely crush it. Because now they have this runway of like, we don't have to focus on getting something out in the next 2 weeks. You know what I mean? They can focus on, okay, like what are we doing as a project over the next 6 months and potentially do some really interesting things. So I think we're going to see a lot of innovation in NFTs from existing projects. And then I also think we're going to see a lot of innovating things coming out of new projects. And that's going to be what allows this industry to sustain and survive itself. It's going to be the innovation. It's going to be the revolutionary moves.
So the summary of, for a moment is basically, if we think crypto is about to go up in a few months, you want to be dollar cost averaging into that. If you want to trade stocks and you want to buy ARK ETF, which has gotten absolutely hammered, you go to like Robinhood or something like that. You go to, a Schwab. You go to a discount broker. Robinhood is front running you on the trade. But let's be honest, all the rest are as well.
Yeah,
and
but they're like telling you that they're front running you.
Yeah. And they're buried in their agreement. Yeah. And the distinction is, if you want to buy crypto, though, where are you going? And there's one place which delivers it the best, and that's FTX. You want to go to the nifty.com/FTX and check it out, and pick up a little Bitcoin as it's falling. One of the best pieces of feedback that I saw in these comments was Pio should do a Bitcoin show. And I am all for that. We should give Pio a dedicated space where once a week he talks about, we rename him BitBoy Pio. And I
just get all my crazy thoughts out of my head.
He talks
to another
about
crazy person.
Literally, we just discussed. We can go. I'll interview you about that, and we have a space where Pio just gets to go off about literally he's a Bitcoin zealot, and we want to see like the full, like how far we can push that, and maybe even set up a scene where you have like sort of like a prayer space behind you where like at the top of it is like a picture of Bitcoin's logo or something like that, and we can just capture you in the moment with some sort of like Buddhist monk type meditative music in the background, Pio doing some sort of prayer visual action, then turning to the camera and saying, look, here's the deal. Can dive through his perspective on Bitcoin. So that seems like another thing. In the interim,
sign up for FTX.
Knowing that we're doing that and knowing that we're going to end up with a massive Bitcoin bull channel or show, you're going to want to maybe get some exposure, not financial advice, but you're going to want to go to the nifty.com/FTX in order to get it,
Go to the nifty.com/FTX. Cheapest prices on crypto. FTX sponsors the Miami Heat that beat the Celtics last night in a bullshit game. FTX sponsors Larry David, Tom Brady, Steph Curry, us. They're clearly huge brain when it comes to figuring out who they partner with. They're also huge brain when it comes to software engineering. They're like all engineers, just constantly engineering the best platforms. The nifty.com/FTX, or sign up with the code THENIFTY on the FTX mobile app. Just do it, man. Like, what are you waiting for? Spend more than $10. You're going to get free crypto. Like, get your ass up and go do it. Okay. Well, Nick got distracted during the FTX pitch, and we're doing something else. By the way, guys, you don't need a Bitcoin.
The rainbow chart.
You don't need is very nice. You don't need a Bitcoin show from me. Robert Breedlove, Nick Carter.
The level of some of these rainbows. The Bitcoin trend price one is just wild. Scroll down a little bit.
This one? This is hilarious. Like, what does that even mean?
That one's
like,
really good.
What does it even mean? I don't.
Rainbow
what does it mean?
infinitely expanding.
What does
like
it
that
mean? This one?
Yeah, the second one is the funniest one for sure, no doubt. look, if you guys, there's a new guy that's blowing up in the Bitcoin space. I got to look up his name. He's awesome. He's like, he's ex-military. And
This one says just sell. Like literally, this was the sell point.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
To close out yeah. What is that graph? Oh, that's from like 2014. Gotcha.
It's telling you to buy now.
Yeah. Nick, do you think to close out, you could lead us through some meditation?
Can you hear that? Can you hear the music?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a good thing. Pio's shrine of Bitcoin is not yet set up, and so breathe in your gratitude that it's not. And just let out all of the toxicity and tension that's existed as you've watched the prices implode just day after day. So we're saying a Jamaican meditation, and I just don't know how that's going to work. So
can we get a Jamaican meditation?
I don't know about that. Sorry. Wait. I got really distracted with that. What you want to breathe in is
because you want to do the Jamaican voice.
You want to breathe in focus.
Just do it.
I don't even remember how to do a Jamaican accent.
You never remember how to do it.
I did it once.
You were doing it the other day on the phone. You had it.
We know a lot of people out there. We became used to
some of these things
going up by 10x. We got used to that cash just flowing into our wallets. Like we were at the casino, but the lose button was just disabled. And now we feel like we can't win.
Bombaclat, you're going to want to inhale the positivity.
We're going to want to breathe in that hopium.
The way you said positivity was really good. That was really good.
That was really good. Don't let it escape. Don't let that positivity that gets you up every morning, don't let that to get sucked out of you.
Don't even let out that air because that's positive air, so just leave it in there.
Focus on your inhales, not on your exhales. Here's what I want to say. We're all in this together. We're all part of an amazing new technology together, and we all believe in it. And if you believe in the power of manifestation, if we all believe, if we all hold the line as darkness charges towards us, light will come again. And when light comes again, we can not just stand against darkness, but we can charge towards it. We can run at full speed. Wait,
what are we charging towards now? I got lost. Sorry.
To the gains, the mountain of gains. We charge towards that army of darkness and we slay them. And we walk up that mountain to the peak, other side, 50 Ethereum floor. Bored apes.
This is
500 ETH.
This is a meditative charge. This is like the captain of the army, your battalion saying, "Charge forward!"
This is spiritual warfare,
but peacefully. Charge forward and destroy the enemy.
We're not fighting,
but do it with love.
We're not fighting for money right now. We're not fighting for the easy gains because those all died on the battlefield. But what we are fighting is for our spirits and our souls and our belief in the NFT space. Hold strong!
Thanks for watching, everybody. Sign up for FTX. Nick really got me with that Jamaican accent. That was so funny.
What did
Positivity.
Bombaclat.
Stop.
Smash the subscribe.
Stop.
Click the like.
Go long.
Thank you for joining.
Go long.